Yo, what's up guys? We're doing a item tier list video, and this is for season 15. I think that a lot of these items haven't been changed that much, so I think this will probably stay relevant for a while, but we'll have to see. My tier list left to right is going to matter. I'm going to be doing this live and kind of like adjusting items as we go. If I put something initially in a tier, I might moving around just based on as it's more completed, what makes sense. Starting off the tier list, we have Abyssal Mask. This item is easily S tier. It's 2650, gives 15 ability haste, 45 magic resist, 350 health. And the passive is that gives enemy champions within 700 units of you. This item, obviously you can't build it every game, but in the team comps where its conditions are good, it becomes just the most value item probably in the game that you could build. That's going to be comps where your team has heavy AP and the enemy team has heavy AP. So you can get a lot of value from the magic resist and the curse that you apply to the enemies. I think overall the stats feel just amazing. And so no questions. I think it's easy S tier. So next we have Shurelya's. This item is 2200, gives 50 AP, 15 ability haste, 125% magic base mana regen, and then plus 4% movement speed. I would probably put this either low B or C. This item used to be a lot better when the passive was that when you if you heal or shielded your ally, they get bonus movement speed. And now it's kind of a weird item. Obviously, the active is still like okay, granting the 30% movement speed to your team, but it just feels like there are better items that you could build instead of Shurelya's. Like if we think about what champions build Shurelya's, I can only really think of like two, which is Nami and Zillion. I think for solo queue, a lot of the times it's a lot better for you to build items that give heal and shield or just damage rather than movement speed. Yeah, it's one thing I will give Shurelya's that makes it feel good to build is the 50 AP, which is relatively cheap for 2200 gold, but I think a lot of the times I'd much rather have something like, I don't know, like a Moonstone or like a Redemption over Shurelya's. It just doesn't really feel that great. So I'm going to put it in B for now. I might move it down to C, but yeah, well, this is my initial placement. Moving on to Mejai's. So Mejai's gives 20 AP, 100 health, 1500 gold. If you kill an enemy, you gain stacks. Gain 4 stacks for each champion kill and 2 stacks for each assist, up to a maximum of 25 stacks for every stack. Gain 5 ability power, up to 125 at maximum stats. If you have at least 10 stacks, also gain 10% movement speed. Lose 10 stacks on death. Stacks are preserved from Darksteel. I think this item's an A. Just very high risk, high reward sort of thing. I think the 10% movement speed at 10 stacks is crazy. I build this a lot on Janna, and I think on most enchanters, Mejai's tends to be pretty good because if you are playing an enchanter, you probably shouldn't be dying a lot. So this kind of gives you a lot of, you just get a lot of value off of it. And it's very cheap, 1500 gold. Darksteel, if I could put Darksteel as its own item here, I'd probably just move that to S. But yeah, Mejai's, I think if your team is super behind, I actually really like building Mejai's because you need kind of something miraculous to happen for you guys to come back, and Mejai's is kind of like perfect item. I'd probably put it in A. I wouldn't put this in S just because like it is so high risk, high reward. Put it in A for now. Moving on to Redemption. So Redemption recently got nerfed where they nerfed the base healing on it. It is a 2300 gold item, gives 15 ability haste, 200 health, 100% base mana regen, 10% heal and shield power, and then the active is Intervention. Call upon a 550 radius beam of light to strike upon the target location after 2.5 seconds, granting sight of the area. The duration, allies within the area are healed, while enemy champions within take 10% of the target's maximum health as true damage can be used while dead. This item, even though it's nerfed, probably still S tier. I think it's just such an overloaded item. The active itself is amazing, but the fact that you're getting ability haste, the stats that you give are insane. Especially the 10% heal and shield power. Not only has the 10% heal and shield power, but it also just works on the active itself, which is honestly pretty crazy. Even outside of the base stats, the active is just insane. I think the way they need to balance this item is that instead of, increasing the actives cooldown or increasing the health, I think they should nerf the range for it because it's 5500 range, which you can basically drop redemption from mid to like any side lanes. Okay, so it's you have to walk a bit, but the distance is just insane. You can be late to a fight and you can just drop redemption, and it's like, oh, you're not even that late, Yeah, it just got nerfed, but just still a great item. People are still rushing it. I think it's still very strong. Moving on to Frozen Heart, 2500 gold, gives 20 ability haste, 75 armor, 400 mana. Its passive, Winter's Caress, cripples the attack speed of enemy champions within 700 units by 20%. This item, maybe low A, high B. So it gives good stats of ability haste, armor, and mana. It is a little expensive, but the passive is really nice. My one complaint about this item is that it doesn't give any health. I think when you're playing support and you have this item, not having the health to really make good use of your resistances feels really bad. So I think Frozen Heart, kind of like Abyssal Mask in the sense that you only build it if you're under specific conditions, those conditions being the enemy team has a lot of AD, and also if they have attack speed heavy champions. But the difference between Abyssal Mask and Frozen Heart is that the stats are just a lot better. I think the active is also a lot better for Abyssal Mask. Obviously, the 20% decrease in attack speed goes a pretty long way, but only thing is that it doesn't give a lot of health. So I'm going to put it bottom A. I think it's better than Shurelya's for sure. So I'd probably put this in bottom A, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, Morello Nomicon. The full item for this is honestly really bad for supports just because it's like so expensive. 2850 gold for 75 AP, 15 ability haste, 350 health, and then the passive is the Grievous. Yeah, when you are I think in general it feels pretty bad to build healing reduction items when you are playing support, but this one specifically is just terrible because it's so expensive. So I'm just going to put this in C, but I will be going over Oblivion Orb, Bramble, and Executioner's Calling. So starting with Bramble Vest, I want to say like so here, let me hold on. So it's 800 gold, 30 armor, and then the passive is that when struck by a basic attack on hit, deal 10 magic damage to the attacker, and if they are a champion, inflict them with Grievous Wound for 3 seconds. This item honestly feels pretty bad to build. I think the only case where it feels really good to build is if the enemy team has a lot of AD. That I feel like that's not the case for a lot of the time. I think I'm going to put this in B for now. Shurelya is probably better than Bramble. And then Morello, not Morello, Oblivion Orb. I think out of all of the healing reduction items, Oblivion Orb probably feels the best out of all of them. Especially if you're playing like a mage support or any champion with a damage over time, like Oblivion doesn't feel bad at all to build. Like 800 gold. I might even put this in S tier, honestly. Like 800 gold for Grievous Wound. By the way, the Grievous Wound is the same amount for each item, which is why like most people sit on Oblivion Orb or like their tier 1 item instead of like going the full upgrade. So I'm just going to put this in A. This one just makes more sense to build, feels better because, if you do magic damage, then you apply it. Whereas like Bramble, it's like, oh, well, I hope they hit me sort of thing. Yeah, I'm going to put Oblivion at A. If you are playing a mage support and you're comboing with Leandries, then it becomes like one of the best. But overall, I'm just going to put it in A. It probably is better than Frozen Heart. The next item is Executioner's Calling. I want to say it's probably B. I think it feels pretty similar to Bramble. 800 gold, 15 AD. It deals dealing physical damage to enemy champion, inflicts them with Grievous Wound for 3 seconds. Only problem with Executioner's Calling is that the upgrade of what you can upgrade it to, I don't actually have it on this. Oh wait, no, I do. What you can upgrade it to, it being like Mortal Reminder or Chempunk Chainsword, what support are you honestly going to build like these two items on? I think the only exception is really Senna, and you're most likely going Chempunk Chainsword, but even then, like, it just feels really bad to build. So I think it feels better to build than Bramble, just because like Bramble also for the Thord mail, it doesn't feel bad into like an all AD team, but when you do finish Executioners, like it's like this just feels terrible. Yeah, I probably should have put the upgraded upgrades for these two, but I'm just gonna leave this here for now. But I'll put it on the screen just so you guys can see. Moving on, we have Locket, 2200 gold, 10 ability haste, 25 armor, 25 magic resist, 200 health. Active is that it grants you and your allied champion within 800 units a shield that decays over 2.5 seconds. It has a 90-second cooldown. Probably gonna put this in A. Yeah, this is, I think Locket is just a solid item. Great stats. Every like engage support can use ability haste, armor, magic resist, health. Just having both armor, magic resistance, and health makes it so you can pretty much buy this like every game and you can't really go wrong with it. Also, active, just you can get a lot of value out of it, but overall, just one of the most solid items you can buy for tank supports. Moving on to Mikael's. Mikael's is 2300 gold. It gives 15 ability haste, 250 health, 100% base mana regen, and 12% heal and shield power. Probably going to put this in S. The active is just, you know, a cleanse. You just get a lot of value out of it. It's a lot better on enchanters than engage supports because of the heal and shield power. Yeah, I mean, in some comps when there's a lot of CC, Mikael's just is a get out of jail free card, and there's really no item like it. I think one thing I'm a little sad about for Mikael's is that it doesn't have any like AP or like resistances. Mikael's used to build out of a cloak, which gave MR, which felt a lot better than the increased heal and shield power, but I mean, it was a little too OP. So I'm like debating whether or not to put Mikael's in A or S, top of A or bottom of S, but I think S is a pretty appropriate place for now. Moving on to Ardent Censer. So this item gives 2200 gold, 45 AP, 125% base mana regen, 10% heal and shield power, 4% movement speed, and the passive is that healing or shielding allied champions enhances you and them for 6 seconds, granting 25% bonus movement speed and 20 bonus magic damage on hit on basic attacks. I want to put this probably somewhere like middle A. The thing with Ardent is that you need a very specific comp to run it, and it's only really good on a few champions. This item, the conditions where it's good is that you need an attack speed, an auto heavy like team or team comp, and then you also need to most likely play it on an enchanter. The best user of Ardent is going to be Lulu because it combos really well with picks, so your damage just goes really crazy. Other than Lulu, it doesn't feel as strong, and that's just the way it kind of has to be balanced, right? I think a lot of these support items, there's going to be one user who just uses it the best, and the balance is going to be around that champion. And then because it's that way, it's going to feel kind of bad on champions that aren't as optimal. So like, I don't know, if you compare like the DPS Lulu can give with Ardent compared to like Nami, it's just like Lulu just mogs Nami, honestly. Like it's S on Lulu, but like feels kind of mid on other champions. And yeah, that's kind of why I have Ardent on in A. I feel like that makes the most sense to me. Yeah. Moving on to Staff of Flowing Water. So this item costs 2250, gives 35 AP, 15 ability haste, 125% base mana regen, 10% heal and shield power. And passive is that healing or shielding allied champions, excluding yourself, grants you and them 45 ability haste, 45 AP for 6 seconds. This item is honestly really crazy. It feels like it's I probably would put this on top of A. So this item is like Abyssal Mask and Frozen Heart in the sense that it's only really good under certain conditions, and those conditions are going to be if you're playing an enchanter and if you have heavy AP on your team. You're not going to be able to build this a lot where it gets a lot of value, but like I think the stats itself is just really crazy. Like all the stats you want, all it gives all the stats that you would want in those type of situations, you know, just lots of AP, ability haste, mana regen, heal, and shield power. But I think it's just the numbers are just a little too much. Getting 45 ability power for 6 seconds is to you. It's not only that you're giving it to your ally, but you're giving it to yourself too, which gets what you're getting 90 AP for 6 seconds. And I think most of the time when you do have Staff of Flowing Water, you could probably have the uptime for it. You probably have it like for most of a team night, if not all of a team fight, just because you're gonna have a lot of ability haste by the time you build staff. And if you are playing an enchanter, you just have a lot of ability haste baked into your build. Yeah, so I would probably put it, I might even put this on S, honestly. Like this item is actually so broken in the right comp, and it just has everything that you really want. So I'm going to put this in S for now. I might move it down, but we'll see. Okay, moving on to Imperial Mandate. This item is 2250. It gives 60 AP, 20 ability haste, 125% base mana regen. And the passive is that abilities that slow or immobilize enemy champions, mark them for 5 seconds. Ally champions that damage marked enemies consume the mark to deal 10% of the target's current health bonus magic damage. 9-second cooldown per target, starts upon mark application. Kind of the same deal as Ardent, where this item is only really S tier on one champion. That champion is Nami. Nami uses this really well because it marks champions with her E. And so on everyone else, it feels pretty mid. I think I'm trying to think of like another champion that builds Mandate. Obviously, it's going to be like a range champion, because if it's hard to build Mandate on a melee support because you're just too tanky. It doesn't have any tanky sets. Thinking like it's good on Nami, and then like Ashe. No one else really comes to mind, but I would probably put it the same tier as Ardent. If like, yeah, I don't know which one would be better. Probably Ardent's probably a little better than Mandate, just because it has more champions where it feels a lot better than Mandate. I think this is a pretty appropriate place to put Mandate. Moving on to Helia, same deal as Ardent Mandate. It's good on a couple champions, and on the rest it feels pretty mid, and it's just kind of like balanced that way. So this item is 2200 gold, 35 AP, 20 ability haste, 200 health, 125% base mana regen. And then the passive, damaging an enemy champion with a basic attack or ability damage, grants a soul shard up to 2, healing or shielding an ally champion, consumes all soul shards to heal them for 65 per shard, and deal 50 magic damage per shard to the nearest enemy champion within 1100 units of the ally. So I think stats-wise, this item, really good stats for the champions that you build it on. It's mostly going to be enchanters. Problem with Helia is that it's really easy to stack the shards of damaging enemy champions, but it's really hard to consume the shards with heals or shields. So the best champions that use Helia are going to be Melio and Sona, but everyone else, it's a little harder to use optimally, just because the heal or shield is not going to be up as often as Sona or Melio. If you didn't know, for Melio specifically, if you W someone and then you auto, every time you auto, it grants you a shard. And also for the passive, I believe it consumes the shard when an enemy attacks, because the passive you're giving your ally counts as damage. I could be wrong on that, but Emilio is probably the best user of Helia. I would probably place this maybe a little better, maybe a little higher, maybe like high A. On the champions that it is good on, it's like really good. And there's a lot more champions where it's really good on than Mandate and Ardent. So kind of the same conditions, but just a stronger item overall. Moving on to Knight's Vow. I already know where I'm going to place this. Knight's Vow, 2300 gold, gives 10 ability haste, 40 armor, 200 health, 100% base health regen. And the passive is that while your worthy ally is tethered to you and you are above 30% of your max health, redirect 12% of the pre-mitigation physical and magic damage they take to you as the respective damage type. Additionally, you heal for 10% of the post-mitigation damage dealt by your worthy ally to champions. This item is probably the best support item in the game. Just such an insane item. The fact that you can redirect damage to you and then also heal from your person that you're tethered to is just, there's like really no item like it. A lot of the times it's built on engage supports, but I think there are times where Knight's Vow makes sense to build as like a range support. If like one person on your team is super ahead, I think Knight's Vow is a pretty reasonable item to build, even if you're playing like an enchanter. It's actually really good on Yuumi. Yuumi is people don't think it's good on Yuumi, but it's like insane on Yuumi because she's untargetable, right? And so and taking damage doesn't redirecting the damage doesn't really matter because you're invulnerable or sorry, untargetable. So yeah, this is just one of the best items in the game. I think if you are playing engage support, it's just feels really good to build. It gives you health, it gives you armor. It does feel kind of bad to build on range supports just because it's just like all tank stats, but it's not bad, I think, in certain scenarios. It's like that good of an item. The passive is that good that it's worth it. Yeah, I think most people agree that Knight's Vow is like an insane item. Moving on to Moonstone. So 2200 gold gives 25 AP, 20 ability haste, 200 health, 125% base mana regen. The passive is healing or shielding an ally champion, change the effect to other nearest allied champions within 800 units of them, granting them 30% of the heal or 35% of the shield's initial strength. If no other allied champions are in the radius, grant the same target an additional 30% of the heal or 35% of the shield. This item, probably A, just overall, lots of enchanters just use this item. It's pretty general, like I think kind of the opposite of Ardent Mandate and Helia, where like a lot more champions can use it very well. Stats are amazing, pretty much everything you could ask for if you are playing an enchanter. And so I'm probably going to put it in A, higher than Locket, top of A. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the support items, starting with Dreammaker. This item doesn't cost any gold because it upgrades from your World Atlas. And so the passive is that every 8 seconds you gain a purple dream bubble and a blue dream bubble and a purple dream bubble, granting a heal or shield to an ally champion, causes you to blow pause. That was crazy. The blue bubble also reduces the next instance of non-meaning damage they take by 75 to 255 based on your level, and the purple bubble grants them bonus magic damage on hit on their next basic attack. Yeah, I think if you're playing an enchanter, it's like a lot of the times Dreammaker is going to be best in slot. Just very easy to use. You don't really have to think about it. Just gives very strong stats. I'd probably put it. I don't know where I would put this like above the items, but I'm just gonna put this in A tier. Left to right matters, but for the support items, I'm not gonna make the left to right matter relative to like the other items. So I'm just gonna put it in A. I think Dreammaker is just like you can never go wrong building Dreammaker on most enchanters. Okay, so moving on to Bloodsong. The passive is that after using an ability, your next basic attack within 10 seconds deals 100% base AD bonus physical damage on hit. If the target is a champion, inflict them with exposed weakness for 4 seconds, causing them to take 8% if you're melee, 5% if you're ranged, increased damage from all sources. So I think that this item is S tier. So on melee supports, if it makes sense to build it on like just based off of their kit, I think you should always build it. Like that 8% is just really insane. The 5% is still good, but it's a lot better on a lot of melee supports. I think if we compare it to Celestial, like it just makes like this item is just so much better than Celestial. Just because okay, well hold on. I'll let's go over Celestial first and then I'll talk about why I think that way. So Celestial opposition, it gives Blessing of the Mountain, become blessed to reduce incoming damage by 35% for melee, 25% for range, lingering for 2 seconds after taking damage from a champion. After the linger ends, you lose blessed to unleash a shockwave around you that slows enemies within 500 units by 50% for 1.5 seconds. Has an 18-second cooldown. I want to say this item is like low B. I might even put this on C. I have to put this like not with the items, but I think this item sucks if we compare it to Bloodsong, right? Let's think about this. You're having your damage reduced by 35 or 25% for 2 seconds, and then you also give a slow. Or if we compare it to Bloodsong, Bloodsong makes the enemy take 8% increased damage from all sources, 5% for range for 4 seconds. So I think it just makes a lot more sense to go Bloodsong if you are playing like an engage support, because I think it's a lot better for you to engage, have the person that you engage on take increased damage from your entire enemy team than for you to have reduced damage for 2 seconds. I think if you look at a lot of stats of like Nautilus or something, you'll see that Celestial is by far a lower win rate for compared to Bloodsong. And obviously like Celestial's gonna have a lot more a bigger sample size, but yeah, I just think Celestial is like almost bait. If you could build Bloodsong with if you could build Bloodsong on a support, which is most melee supports, like you most of the time should build it over Celestial. So that's why I'm gonna put Celestial at bottom of C. It's bait. Moving on to maybe not bottom of C. I might put it on like B. Yeah. So moving on to Zaz'Zak's Realmspike. The passive for this, dealing ability damage to an enemy champion, creates an explosion at their location. After a 0.5-second delay, dealing magic damage to enemies within the area, capped at 300 against monsters. This item used to be good. It's kind of like if you're playing a mage, you just sort of build this item. But only problem with Zaz'Zak's right now is that like the numbers are very, very weak. I think Zaz'Zak's was underperforming. The last time they nerfed it, it was already really weak, but they nerfed it again. And that was around the time where Riot decided that they didn't want mage supports to be strong in the meta. I would probably put it in B, right next to Celestial. Yeah, overall, Zaz'Zak's is you're going to be building it on like mages no matter what. But yeah, overall, it is a little weak. Is it weaker than Celestial? Probably not. I'd probably put Celestial over Zaz'Zak in terms of strength, but yeah, that's where I'm going to put it. Solstice Sleigh. Slowing or immobilizing an enemy champion causes you and the most wounded ally champion within 1500 units to gain 20% movement speed, decaying over 2.5 seconds, and 50 to 230 bonus health for 2.5 seconds as a 30-second cooldown. So this item I feel like is like very solid. It's very on champions where slowing or immobilizing is really easy to do, which is like most supports. I feel like it's just like a good overall item. You not only give your teammate movement speed, but you're also giving yourself movement speed, and then you're giving them health. My only complaint about this item is that it's a 30-second cooldown, which is pretty long. But yeah, overall, just a very solid item choice to pick for your upgraded World Atlas. Moving on to Dawn Core. Sorry, this list is kind of out of order. I should have done like the support items last and then like all the items before, but whatever, it's fine. So Dawn Core, 2,500 gold. It gives 45 ability haste, 100% base mana regen, 60% heal and shield power. The passive is that you gain 2% heal and shield power and 10 ability power for every additional 100% base mana regen. This is pretty much like the death cap of enchanter supports. It's a really strong item, but it's just it's a smidge bit too expensive. 2,500 gold. It builds out of 2 forbidden idols, which is nice, but the blasting wand just makes it a little bit awkward. You probably want to build this item last for the most part. I would probably put it maybe like below Mejai is. Better than Ardent. Better than like all of these items below it. But I think this is a fair place. Yeah. Just if it wasn't for the price and the build path being a little bit awkward, it would be probably like an S tier item, but I mean it kind of has to be balanced that way, otherwise it would just be like really broken. So I'm gonna put this in like the middle of A. Moving on to Trailblazer. So this item is 2,400 gold. Gives 40 armor, 250 health, 4% movement speed, and the passive is Lead the Way. While moving, generates 7 stacks of momentum every 0.25 seconds, granting up to 20% movement speed at 100 stacks and after 3.75 seconds of moving. A maximum stacks you leave behind a path briefly that grants 50% of your total movement speed as bonus movement speed to ally champions within. Basic attacks consume all stacks if you are melee, and at maximum stacks, your next basic attack slows the target by 50% for 1 second. Item is 2,400, a little bit more expensive than most support items. Is good into like a full AD team, but my one thing, I feel like this item is actually really bait to build, right? I think the gaining momentum, granting your allies the bonus movement speed is really nice, but if you are melee and at maximum stacks, your next basic attack slows the target by 50% for 1 second. I think the problem with this item is that a lot of supports don't get a lot of value from the slow if you are a melee support, right? Like if we think about, I don't know, something like Nautilus or like Leona, yeah, just most melee supports, when you are engaging, a lot of the times the enemy is going to be CC'd by the time you auto. So a lot of this 1 second slow is going to be eaten by the enemy being CC'd already. Nautilus, for example, right? Let's say you Q an enemy, you auto them. The slow doesn't matter at all because they're going to be rooted. Alistar, if you WQ an enemy, they're going to be knocked up. They're still going to be knocked up as you auto them. So that 1 second, a lot of that 1 second is going to be eaten up. Rel, if you WQ, they're stunned and you're autoing them. Like it just, I was thinking about this item. I was like, I felt like this item sounded good, but the more I thought about it, the more I feel like this item just really sucks. Which is why I'm gonna put it at C. I could be wrong though. I don't know. Is if there is a champion that can use this well, yeah, let me know because I feel like it's just a bait item. Just feels bad. I feel like this item was like, oh my god, it's the new season. We get a new support item. It's Trailblazer, and it was like super hyped up. But then it's just like, when is the last time you've seen someone build Trailblazer? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Okay, moving on to Umbral Glaive. This item, 2,500 gold. Gives 55 AD, 10 ability haste, 15 lethality. Passive, when spotted by enemy stealth wards or traps, gain blackout for 8 seconds, 90-second cooldown. Blackout, you disable surrounding stealth wards as well as expose and reveal nearby stealth wards and traps while blackout is active. Your basic attacks also deal 2 extra damage if you're melee and 1 extra damage on to wards. This item, probably S. I want to say this is like the second best item in the game. You can only build this on 80 champions, and it's a lot better on melee supports than range. This is the most game-breaking item. It definitely warps the game super hard, and I think we all know that feeling of playing against Pyke or like Pantheon, where the map is just dark and like it's just really hard to play the game when you are playing against those supports that do build Umbral. They're able to just like jump on you, and it's like really hard to just play the game. I think a lot of the reason why people dislike Pyke is like 50% is that Pyke is OP and 50% is because of Umbral. It's just like one of the most broken items in the game. It is a little expensive, but it's just so worth it. It's just so broken. I don't think I need to explain myself because I think you guys know that it's just insane, an insane item. Okay, moving on to Zeke's Convergence. So this item is 2,200 gold, gives 10 ability haste, 25 armor, 25 magic resist, 300 health. Passive, upon casting your ultimate ability, you summon a storm of flame and ice around you for 5 seconds, dealing 7.5 magic damage every 0.25 seconds. Enemies within 350 units and slowing them by 30% as a 45-second cooldown. So I think the stats and price of this item is really good. You know, it gives health, it gives armor, it gives magic resistance, gives ability haste. Just all the stats you would really want on a tank support. Only problem is that the passive feels really bad. Magic damage is like so bad. Every time I've built Zeke's on a champion who I think it would be good, I look at how much damage it's done and it's like nothing. It's so little. So it's like, I guess the more OP thing about it is like the slow, but even then, I don't know, it just feels like pretty mediocre. I'd probably put this in like B tier. I don't think it's as bad as like Morello or Trailblazer, but yeah, I think there are just a lot of other better items you can build. Like I'd much rather build a Locket over Zeke's or like a Knight's Vow, you know, over Zeke's. Yeah, so I'm just going to put it in B. I think Shurelya is still better though. Moving on to Vigilant Wardstone. This item is 2,300 gold, gives 20 ability haste, 25 armor, 30 magic resistance, 250 health, and the active consumes a charge of arcane cash to place visible control ward at the target location. Oh, that's just a regular, just throwing down a control ward. And then you can buy 3 more control ward stocks, and then your stealth ward and control ward cap increases by 1. I would probably put this in like high B. The problem with this item is that I wish Watchful Wardstone was on here. Basically, like a lot of the times what happens is that people will, once they're capped out on item slots, a lot of the time they will have 1 control ward slot open, and then they'll just spam elixirs. And if there's a time where they back where they can buy Watchful Wardstone, they'll buy it and then just like rinse and repeat until they can get to Vigilant Wardstone. So this item, that's probably like the most optimal way of playing, like itemizing for it, just because like 2300 gold is very hard to reach when, especially at like the late part of the game, and it's like because a fight is pretty much going to, like, one team fight can be the end of a game. Like, people like going elixirs over Vigilant Wardstone. So honestly, the more I like kind of talk about it, I'd probably put this like low B in between Shurelya's and Zeke's. Yeah, it just sucks. I don't know. You pretty much have to build this as a last item just because you need control wards in the late game. It's something that is kind of necessary, but really sucks to build. Stats are okay, it's just like too expensive, and yeah, just like very awkward. Very, very. I wish there was a better solution for having like more inventory space for control wards than to have to buy Vigilant Wardstone. Okay, moving on to the boots. I think that I'm not even gonna go over Berserker Greaves. I'm just gonna put this in C. Like, no support really builds Berserker Greaves. Ionian Shoes. This is 900 gold, gives 10 ability haste, 45 movement speed, and the passive is that you gain 10 summoner spell haste. This is probably going to be just an S tier boot. Yeah, ability haste. It's one of the cheaper boots, being 900 gold. The upgraded version, Crimson Lucidity, is just amazing. Overall, like for the price and what supports want to do, it's just, I think it's S tier. Easily S tier. Moving on to Merc Treads. Merc Treads is 1250, gives 20 magic resist, 45%, 45 movement speed, and 30% tenacity. I would probably put this in like A tier. Yeah, in A tier. Like, tenacity is like amazing when the enemy team has a lot of CC, but the only problem with Merc Treads is that it's just really expensive. 1250 compared to Ionian boots. It really throws off the tempo at which you're building compared to another support when you build Merc Treads, because yeah, it's 1250. I think it's really good on some engage supports or like tank supports, but if you're playing an enchanter, you most of the time don't want, or like any like range support, you're not going to build Merc Tread. So I'm a little hesitant to put it like this high up in A. Maybe like I think this is fair. I think Merc Treads in right next to Frozen Heart is like a fair, maybe in between. How about that? Let's do that. Yeah, for those reasons. So plated steel caps. It is 1200 gold, 25 armor, 45 movement speed. Reduce all incoming base damage by 10%. Kind of the same deal as Merc Treads, just pretty expensive but really good when enemy team has a lot of AD. So very conditional, but most of the time I think you would much rather just go like CDR shoes. Sword shoes. I mean, I like, if you're playing a mage, you're just gonna be going sword shoes. I think it's a lot better stat wise. Sorry, it's 1100 gold, 12 magic pen, and 45 movement speed. Just like these items, these stats feel a lot better than these two. So I'm just gonna put it higher, but yeah, it's kind of hard for me to place it, but I would definitely put it like just somewhere in A. Moving on to Boots of Swiftness. It is 1k gold, 55% movement speed, and you gain 25% slow resist. This item is probably gonna be, I'm gonna put it like right next to Ionian shoes. I think Boots of Swiftness is probably a little bit better than CDR shoes, just because the movement speed and slow resist is insane. It is a little bit more expensive than Ionian shoes, but just so cheap, just is so good. Movement speed is one of the most broken stats in the game. So yeah, I'm just gonna put it over CDR shoes. Maybe like, dude, these are so hard. I think like left to right matters, but these are like so like similar in value that I would probably just put it here. Yeah, symbiotic shoes, 900 gold, 40 movement speed. You gain 10 movement speed a lot of combat, and it upgrades to synchronized souls after you walk 150,000 units. And then the synchronized souls gives the empowered recall, and it gives you bonus movement speed out of combat. So this item used to be really broken before they nerfed it. Like at a certain point, everyone was just building synchronized, they were building symbiotic souls, when the empowered recall was on the regular boots, right? Now that it's gone, it's like kind of okay. Only nice thing about this item is that it's really cheap. And so it's kind of like it's really cheap, but the problem is that it takes time for it to actually become like good. And that 150,000 units is actually a lot. And so I think Symbiotic Souls is only really good if you can get it on your first back. And it's only really good on like certain champions, like um Pike or something that can just roam a lot. I don't know if I would put it in the same tier as like these three boots, maybe like lower, but I wouldn't say it's like that bad, you know. I think overall this tier list seems pretty good. I'm trying to like just look through stuff and see if I want to adjust things. Yeah, definitely should have added the other Grievous Wound items, but yeah, I would say this is a pretty fair item. I shouldn't even have Berserker Greaves, honestly, but yeah, I think this is my final tier list for my items. Let me know what you guys think, and I want to hear your input on if you think an item should be higher or lower. But thank you so much for watching, and that's the video.